particular, but I'm going to be sharing some tools and tips with you as well that you can apply in both the business world and the personal world. So just give me a thumbs up if you can see my slides. Let me know that it's all there. Great, thank you. Okay, so our world thrives on relationships. In fact, we started off our life in a relationship. We were conceived in relationship. If you think of your mother and your father, they were in a relationship. Well, hopefully it was your mother and father in a relationship, right? Mother and father were in a relationship. You were conceived in a relationship. You are then, while you are in the womb, in the tummy, you are in relationship with mom in the womb. First of all, through the umbilical cord, which obviously gives you the nutrients and everything to develop. And those of you that have been mothers, you will know all about that. And you're already forming a relationship while you are in the womb with mom. And then you get born into a relationship. So first of all, your parents. And if you weren't the lucky one to be firstborn, then relationships with your siblings as well. And then we have relationships with our immediate family, so our grannies and grandpas, and then our extended family, aunties and uncles and cousins. And then we go to school and we start having relationships in school with our friends and our teachers as we go through primary school and then into high school. And then we come into the workplace and we have relationships in the workplace. But nobody actually gives us or shares tips with us on how to actually have relationships. We don't learn these things in school, right? Did you ever learn how to be in a relationship? Any of you? Please post in the chat group. I'd love to know. So no, nobody teaches us how to be in a relationship. We have to figure it out when we get into a relationship. First of all, from a romantic relationship, or maybe even before that, friendships. And then when the first time we kind of start hearing about relationships is in the workplace, right? And it's about team player. You've got to be a team player and you've got to be part of the corporate culture. And that's the first time we kind of start hearing about this or having to start dealing with people and being in relationship with people is when we get into our adult life. And so our whole world thrives on relationships. Our whole world, as we grow and evolve through different life stages, we experience different kinds of relationships. How many of you are fed up already? And I'm not just talking about COVID, I'm just talking about just the uncertainty where life is, the not knowing what the future is going to hold. Maybe you're fed up of being cooped up at home with your partner and you're kind of working around each other and over each other. Maybe you've got children and you're trying to homeschool them. And who knew that one day you would be a teacher as well, let alone a mother, a wife, a lover, a friend, a businesswoman. We wear so many roles and hats in our life, and I'm not taking anything away from the only man in the room, Rick, because I know that men have also taken on lots of different roles and responsibilities with this whole upside down world that we're living in. So yes, we are fed up. And if you are feeling fed up, I want to give you some reassurance that you are perfectly okay, perfectly normal to be experiencing what you're feeling, and you are not alone, okay? So take some peace and some comfort in that. Because this is what our reality is. These are, in fact, even these stats are outdated, which I got from SADAG, the South African Depression Anxiety Group, in that we have all experienced increased emotional functionality. The most top one that we've all experienced and continue to experience is anxiety and panic. And what Kelly Bohili was talking about is the financial stress and pressure. And then a lot of people, depression, and unfortunately also suicide. I'm seeing a lot more of that more recently as we go into this year with more of the same, poor family relations and substance abuse. So we've had to adapt or die. We have had to take on new ways of working. We've had to take on new roles. We've had to take on new responsibilities, and we have had to learn new skills. We have had to become so tech savvy. And I'm not just talking about things like AI and robotics and big data. I'm talking about just learning how to use Zoom and Microsoft Teams. I don't know who of you use Microsoft Teams, but I have to say, I still cannot get that platform right. I find it the most complex platform to work on. I prefer Zoom, but we've had to learn how to become tech savvy, and we've had to learn to set ourselves up at home. We've had to become plumbers and technicians and cleaners and all sorts of things just by the way that we are now working, which is at home, because home has become the workplace. No longer could we escape to home being our safe place and our sanctuary where we got away from it all. We had this defined start and end of our day with our commute to the office and from the office, for those of us that were working in the office. And that kind of signaled the start of our day and the end of our day. But now we don't even have that anymore. It's blurred all into one. And I know so many people that are saying they're working longer hours than before, and digital fatigue is real. If you haven't heard of that terminology, the popcorn brain, it's a psychological impact that being online all the time has on our brain, because we are not wired to be online. We are not wired to be in a digital world. We are wired for human connection. And that's why a lot of people are feeling isolated and disconnected, because we are not having human interaction and connection like we used to have. And in fact, that's the very first language that we learn. So when we are born, the first language we learn is facial expressions and energy and body or nonverbal language. Babies are born, when we are born as babies, the first thing we do is we lock onto our parents' faces. And facial recognition is the first language that we learn. And that's why now with wearing masks, a lot of people are saying, but I can't even read the person anymore. I don't know if you're smiling behind your mask. I don't know if you're angry. I don't know if you're swearing at me behind your mask, because we lose that language, the ability to read those cues that we get, which helps us relate to people, whether it's our personal people in our personal worlds or whether it's in the workplace. So what's really going on underneath the smoke screen? What are we really feeling in terms of this emotional roller coaster that we've been on for the last year? Because generally, when we talk about what our emotions are, I'm either sad, glad, mad, or I'm stressed, right? Can you all relate? We don't go deeper underneath that in terms of what is really going on inside of me. And this is where a lot of people are playing in terms of from one extreme to the other. On the left-hand side, the green was what Charlotte was talking about earlier, when you're in touch and in tune with yourself, you're in touch with your inner genius, you know what's going on inside of you, you're not numb to your feelings, or you're not using negative coping mechanisms. Versus extreme cases on the extreme right-hand side, where people have very serious psychological disorders or various serious illnesses, mental illnesses that they're grappling with. So a lot of us are flipping between the left-hand side and the middle, and we're experiencing a lot of these emotional feelings and emotions, and we're not taking the time to slow down, like Charlotte said, and really get in touch with what is going on inside of me. When I say I'm stressed, what do I mean by that? What is it exactly that is making me stressed? And how do I know that I'm stressed? Because a lot of the time we don't tap into ourselves. So first of all, it is okay to not be okay. And this is where relationship with self comes in, okay? Relationship with self. When we are disconnected from self, in other words, we live in our heads and we overanalyze or we overthink things, or we're thinking far ahead in the future, or we're thinking in the past and we're holding on to the should've, would've, could've's. We are not connected to self, to our emotions and what's going on inside of us, okay? So it is okay to not be okay. And it is okay to put your hand up and say, I am not coping today. I am not having a good day today. It does not make you a failure, and it does not make you weak. In fact, it takes a very brave and courageous person to put their hand up and say, I'm not coping and I need help. And I want to encourage you going forward, and at any point, if you are not having a good day, first of all, be kind and gentle to yourself and show yourself some self-love and self-care, and reach out to your support structures, whatever they may be or whoever they may be. It may be friends, it may be families, it may be your peers in your trusted circle in the workplace or role models or mentors. And if you don't have any of that, then please reach out to our national support structures like Lifeline and SADC, or you can reach out to me as well. So what are some of the red flags you need to look out for when it comes to self and self-care? Have your sleeping patterns changed? Are you more irritable than normal? Are you finding yourself snapping at your partner or at your children or at your parents or your friends? Are you finding yourself being irritable with your colleagues in the workplace or your employees? Or perhaps it's even your customers or your suppliers? Are you using negative coping mechanisms? If you're lucky enough to have alcohol stash left or cigarettes, are you perhaps using those? But something that's cropped up that people are not necessarily taking account of is emotional eating or snacking. Are you snacking more than normal or more than usual? Because now that we're working at home, it's easier for us to walk to the fridge or the cupboard and take something out there to help us cope or to just fill that void or help us deal with that stress and anxiety that we're feeling. So notice your emotional snacking or eating potentially. Have you stopped doing things that you used to do? For example, exercise, whether it's taking a walk around the block with the dogs, sitting outside in the garden, going to gym, meditating, writing, listening to music, a bubble bath, whatever it is. What have you stopped doing that you used to do that took care of yourself? And what do you need to be aware of in terms of how you are not looking after yourself? Because your relationship with yourself, as Charlotte said, is crucial for your well-being when it comes to your family, so your partner and your children, and when it comes to being able to function and operate in the workplace. Where do we need to set boundaries? Boundaries are so important, and especially us women, no disrespect to Rick, but us women, we are very good at taking care of everybody else's needs and what they want and not taking care of ourselves and our own needs. And when we say yes to everything else and everyone else, we are saying no to ourselves. When we say no to other people and other things, we are saying yes to me. I'm important. My needs are important. And I also deserve to be taken care of. So when it comes to boundaries with self, listen to your self-talk. Is it negative self-talk? Are you coming down hard on yourself? Are you being critical? Are you not taking care of your own issues, like, for example, like Kelebogile was saying, your money management and your debt and your saving and paying yourself? Are you not taking care of yourself? So think about your self-talk, how you think about yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you treat yourself lays the foundation for how others will treat you and interact with you. Boundaries with romantic relationships. You and your partner may be living in the same house, you may be going through the same thing, but you are potentially experiencing it very differently on an emotional level. Are you potentially taking on what your partner is going through? How are you being there for each other? How are you supporting each other? Or do you feel like you're carrying the load on your own? When it comes to chores at the home, are you sharing chores? Do you feel like it's fair? Are you helping each other at home with chores like cooking, cleaning, washing, ironing, grocery shopping, whatever it might be, okay? When it comes to family members, are you putting down boundaries there and taking care of each other? When it comes to parenting and children, are you sharing the roles and the responsibilities, or are you taking it all on your own, or is your partner sharing that with you? Because remember, it took two of you to make that child. It wasn't just wind pollination, right? And then friendships. Friendships, sometimes friends, especially if you have friends that are on their own and they may be feeling very alone and lonely, are they tapping into you for their source of support? Do you maybe need to put boundaries down because the people that you surround yourself with are also just talking about negative stuff all the time? And because the more negativity you take in, the more it is going to impact you. So be aware of what you're also reading and what you are taking into account in terms of social media. And then what's happening in the workplace. Are you working longer hours than normal? Do you need to put down boundaries for yourself there? Do you need to push back? Do you need to perhaps put boundaries down with customers and suppliers because they're taking their own insecurities and uncertainty and frustrations out on you without realizing what they're doing? Okay. So look at where you need to put boundaries down. And then failure. A lot of us are feeling like failures at the moment, or feeling like we haven't achieved much or we haven't accomplished much because of the uncertainty of the future, because we're potentially feeling hopeless, and we are overthinking our goals from 2020 because we had set so many goals for ourselves that never materialized. And a lot of us are feeling like a failure because 2020 didn't turn out to be the year we thought it would be, or the year that we envisaged. So failure is an event. It is not you, a person. You are not a failure. The thing that you thought you were going to achieve or accomplish may not have turned out the way that you thought or the way that you had planned. That does not mean that you are a failure. It is only feedback that something did not happen the way that you envisaged or the way that you had thought. So how do you take that feedback and apply it going forward to get a different outcome and a different result? And then, ladies, we are very good at guilt. Throwing on and wearing that guilt cloak. We feel guilty about not being the perfect wife, perfect life, perfect mother, perfect businesswoman, perfect career, whatever it might be. And it's a load of bullshit. Sorry to say, but it is, okay? And I want you to let go of the guilt, because you are the only one that is placing that guilt on yourself, nobody else. And the only way that you can let go of the guilt is to give up irrational thinking and let go of torturing yourself. This irrational thinking about, I should have done this, I could have done this, I didn't do this, maybe I did this, the should have, would have, could have is what keeps us stuck in the past or in that moment with the regrets, and the over-analyzing, analysis paralysis. And the only way you'll get out of the guilt ditch is by ditching the guilt. So stop torturing yourself with the should have, would have, could have. Make peace with what happened. Accept, acknowledge this happened. This is how it's made me feel. And in order to move on and go forward, I need to approach it differently. I need to try something differently. I need to put down boundaries. I need to listen to the feedback, and I need to move on in life. Otherwise, you're just going to keep yourself stuck in that same place with that broken record playing over and over and over again. And this is where self-care and self-love and self-nurturing comes in terms of being gentle and kind on yourself, because we are human and we make mistakes. There is no such thing as the perfect person or the perfect relationship. It is how perfect can you be for each other, because you value each other, you respect each other, and you want each other to succeed, and you want your relationship to succeed. And because you have tapped into your inner genius, your hidden genius, as Charlotte was telling us earlier. Now, a lot of people think that a healthy relationship is a relationship where we live happily ever after, we have amazing sex, we have amazing lives, and it's like in the fairy tales and what we see in the movies, right? But hate to be the bearer of bad news, that is exactly why it's in the fairy tales and why it's in the movies, because it is not reality. All relationships have conflict, whether it is personal, whether it is professional. We have conflict, and conflict is as simple as we have a different view and a different opinion. Or it can be the extreme where we have screaming, shouting matches. Conflict is a normal part of life. It is like money comes and flows in the beginning of the month, and it flows out at the end of the month. It's like relationship, it's like energy comes and goes. It's like life has ups and downs. Relationships have ups and downs. I call them speed bumps. You are going to hit a speed bump. You are going to hit more than one speed bump throughout your lifetime, as long as you are in relationship with something or someone, okay? It's part of life, so get used to it. Conflict is not a bad thing. If anything, conflict is an opportunity for growth, because it's pushing us out of our comfort zones. It's giving us feedback that something is not quite right here, or you are being challenged on a level that you don't like and you are resisting it. So conflict is growth trying to happen. So what does a healthy relationship and foundation look like? And this applies to both your personal relationships and your professional relationships. There needs to be an element of trust. Do I trust myself to speak up and speak out and say the right thing? Am I aware of how I'm showing up and how I am co-creating my relationships by where I'm at in my head Am I in a positive frame of mind or a negative frame of mind? In my body, my emotions, am I in a positive emotional state or a negative emotional state? So how am I showing up and co-creating my relationships? How am I impacting the other person or people? And how am I allowing those people to impact me? Respect for self and respect for others. At a very basic level, human beings, first and foremost, we are human beings before we are male, female, mother, father, lover, brother, CEO, chairman, manager, leader, employee, whatever it is. So if we can just start respecting each other at a basic human level, that in itself would turn the world around. Ability to resolve conflict. We need to be able to communicate effectively. We need to create a space that has psychological safety and physical safety as well. And if you just apply those principles in your relationships going forward, you will have far healthier relationships than what you potentially have had, or that you potentially have had in the past. And we also need to look at redefining what success looks like, because this comparison, as Charlotte said, is so last season. What does success look like to you? Because everybody's picture of success is different. If you have health, if you have wealth, and I'm talking about wealth in terms of quality of life and lifestyle, if you have the ability to pay your bills and still have some small luxuries in life, if you can celebrate the small moments, because we always look for the big things to celebrate in life and we forget about the little steps of progress that we've made. If you can celebrate being fully present and having good health and quality family time, trust me, you are far richer than you thought you were. So these are 2 little tips that you can apply in your relationships at home and in the workplace. So one practical tip I'm going to give you just as a wrap up. I call them VUCA moments. I'm sure you've all heard of the term VUCA. It's often thrown about in the workplace. It's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And unfortunately, I think that's just a fancy buzzword for life, right? Because life is volatile and uncertain, and it can be complex, and it can be ambiguous. So start off with the V stands for venting. So if you are having family dinner or if you're having a team meeting, you start off with venting. Each person gets a minute to vent about whatever is sitting with them, personal, professional, whatever it is. Let them vent. Let them get it off their chests. Then update. How was your day? What did you get up to today? If it's a home situation, if it's a work situation, update, status update. Where are you at on whatever your roles and responsibilities and KPIs or projects that you're working on? This creates a space to connect with each other, to show how you can support each other, how you can be there for each other, or how you need to step in and help each other, or how you need to manage deadlines and timelines. And then ask one thing that you need help with, or that someone can do for you, or how someone can be there for you. So that's a little formula that you can use to help you create safe spaces at home and in the workplace, psychological safety, emotional safety, trust, respect, and communication going forward. And I will send this through to you as well so you can have a look at it. So as I said, take turns to vent, provide an update on your day or your work, acknowledge each person's contribution, and ask what you need in terms of support. Okay. On my website, you can find lots of free resources. If you'd like to, you can go down and download them all, ranging from relationships to self-help and connecting with yourself to a stress test. And you may also be interested in the peer mentoring program that I run for women, which is applicable to both your personal and your professional relationships and space. And because, unfortunately, money does not make the world go round, relationships do. And when the money is not there, the relationships should be there. So thank you, ladies and gent, for sharing your time with me today. And I hope that you gain some insights and some tools to walk away with today. And